At number 10 we have Elizabeth II, our late Queen. Although most of my countdown is going to be focused on medieval monarchs, I felt out of respect for the uniqueness of the late Queen's reign that I felt I should include her in this countdown. The very definition of a warrior king, Edward the First, curiously, started his reign not even in England. He went on the Ninth Crusade when his father, Henry the Third, died. But Edward, rather than rush back, didn't return until 1274, 2 years after Henry had died. Edward would subject the Welsh and Scots to very real ruthlessness, and he would implement the novel idea of executing people by hanging, drawing, and quartering. The first prominent figure to receive that punishment was the Welsh prince Dafydd ap Griffith. Edward, in short, was not a particularly nice man. However, he is certainly one of our strongest kings. William the Conqueror is at 8. I do not for one second believe that William the Conqueror thought that he was the rightful heir to Edward the Confessor. I believe in the 1050s he sensed an opportunity to turn himself from a duke into a king, with the political situation in England being uncertain, with William watching on from afar in Normandy. He took his opportunity in 1066 and has left an enduring legacy which includes the Tower of London and the Domesday Book. However, William's reputation is not all positive, and his harrying of the north, which was a general massacre of the north of England, is one of the most diabolical acts in the medieval age. And for that reason he cannot be placed any higher than 8th. At number 7 we have Elizabeth I, the first genuinely successful female ruler of England. Elizabeth had many a barrier to overcome throughout her life, including the execution of her mother when she was just a baby, and also being a prisoner to her half-sister Mary I. Not to mention a bout of smallpox which nearly killed her just after she had become queen. So for Elizabeth to lead England into a golden age shows you the character of the woman. She was not without her flaws, and she became slightly weird as she got older, as she developed paranoia, but this should not tarnish the reputation of a genuinely great monarch. Richard the First, or otherwise known as Richard the Lionheart, is comfortably one of the coolest kings there has ever been. His accomplishments against Saladin during the Third Crusade are completely unique in English history. He stands as one of our greatest ever warrior kings. However, I cannot place him any higher than 6th due to the fact that his administration of England as a king was not at the top of his priorities, as he spent most of his reign out of the country. Edward III led England into the 100 Years' War and won many glorious victories, including at Crécy and Poitiers. However, he reigned far too long, and the last decade of his life led to corruption at his court and self-serving and self-interested people taking advantage of the now aging and frail king. For 40 years he had been one of England's greatest kings. For the last 10 he had been delicate and easily manipulated. I have seen many people claim that Edward III is possibly our greatest king. However, the last decade, in my opinion, completely rules him out of the equation of being our greatest king. However, the accomplishments of the first decades of his reign certainly deserve to be recognised, and I have him in my top 5. In 1422, Henry V stood on the brink of glory. He was the heir to the French throne. He had done this through a combination of diplomatic and military genius. He had married the daughter of the French king, Charles the Mad. However, dysentery would cut Henry's dreams of unifying the English and French crowns. If Henry had lived for only a few months more, he would have become King of France. This would have been one of the greatest accomplishments in European medieval history. The only reason Henry V has not been placed at number 1 in my countdown is due to the fact that he died too soon. At number 3 we have Edward the Elder, the son of Alfred the Great. His role in the unification of what we now know as England was absolutely vital, and it was thanks to him that Athelstan, his son, would eventually effectively become the first king of the English. Athelstan's brutal victory at the Battle of Brunanburh in 937 established him as one of the greatest kings of his age, and effectively saw him, as I mentioned in the previous clip, as the first effective king of the English. Whilst there was still some work to do in the full unification of England, with Northumbria continuing to be a problem for another 15 years or so after Athelstan's death, what Athelstan had effectively managed to achieve was the forging of a modern nation. At number 1 we have Alfred the Great. The reality is, any of the top 3 in my countdown could have been placed at number 1. However, it was Alfred who really began to turn the tide on the Viking invaders, although there had been some success on that score in earlier reigns. Alfred has also left us an enduring legacy, which is the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, which shines a light on the many accomplishments of his age and the ages that were to come. To this day, we share in Alfred's famed love of learning,